Hello and welcome to a very special bonus episode of Football Fives. I'm here with a person who's been on the show already, Danny, who did the Everton show. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. So I thought I'd do a bit of a bonus episode, only a short one, just to speak to you about the news that's going on at Everton at the minute. So it's come out recently. Sean Dyche has been sacked from Everton.
Yeah.
And as we speak, it appears that David Moyes is in talks to become your new manager.
Yeah.
Quite big news for Everton, to be fair. So I just thought I'd get your thoughts and feelings on Sean Dyche sacking and David Moyes coming back. So we'll stick with Sean Dyche first of all. I think that you were quite complimentary of Sean Dyche on the show that we did. It seems like an eternity ago, but it was only released a few weeks ago. It was released on New Year's Day, so download that and catch that on the in the archives. So go on, what's your feelings and thoughts with Sean Dyche then?
Yeah, like you said, I think we mentioned it in my last podcast that it was sort of at the stage where we were at when we did that podcast. It wasn't looking good anyway, but up until then, I'd been happy with him. I was happy for him to come in. I was made up when he came in to take over us. I thought at the time he was the only person that could get us out of trouble after Frank Lampard after his time had run out. So I was happy for him to come in, and he did a decent job. He kept us in. I think some of the signings that he made in his time were questionable, but then at the same time you have to look at all the problems that he had within the club behind the scenes. The 10-point deduction, which was reduced to 6. But at the time when it first came in, it was 10, and he had to sort of go with that. But I think he's just like what he said. What he's apparently said is that he's taken Everton as far as he can, and I agree with that. I just think that it's got to the point now where we need somebody in, and I'm just glad the decision's been made now, because they said they were assessing the situation at the beginning of last week, and I was a bit concerned because there were rumours we were going to get Graham Potter in, and then West Ham were looking to get rid of their manager, and it was just a bit case of like, well, what's going on? But I'm happy that he's gone, but I'm certainly not going to sit here and say he was rubbish and we should have got rid of him sooner and everything else. I think the problems at Everton are a lot more than just the manager. So,
yeah. I mean, it's been a while now, hasn't it, where Everton... when years and years ago, Everton were a bit of a stalwart of the Premier League, but time's gone on and they have become relegation fodder for quite some time and quite some seasons.
Yeah.
Frank Lampard obviously kept them up in that amazing moment that we spoke about.
Yeah.
Sean Dyche has come in, and his job for the first... How many seasons has he been in charge, Sean Dyche, now?
I think it's 2 years he's been there. Or it's just under 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So his job would have been keep him up.
Yeah.
And he has kept him up.
Yeah.
And I think 16th at the minute in the Premier League.
Yes. 1 point above relegation.
Yeah, with that point deduction. Mm-hmm. So because that was this season, wasn't it? So
that was last season.
Was that last season?
That was last season, the point.
I'm completely missing my... messing my timeline up here.
Don't be giving us another point deduction.
I know. So okay then. So they've had a point deduction last season and he kept them up.
Yeah.
This season, 16th, 1 point. From memory, a bit of a rocky start, but then it seemed that he's kind of steadied the ship a little bit. He had some great results, but now it has kind of gone a little bit downhill. In the past few weeks.
Yeah, we had the 3 draws against Chelsea, Arsenal, and City in December, which I think a lot of Evertonians were dreading because we've just not been scoring goals. And this is what Sean Dyche has done. He's come in and he's sort of helped our defence to the point where we're actually doing well defensively. We've not really conceded, to get clean sheets against Chelsea, Arsenal, and City consecutively after one another is fantastic. And But then I think to lose Forest and then Bournemouth, it just sort of hit home to Everton fans that, again, the problem is still there in the fact that we can't score goals. So as much as he's sorted the defence out, you know, we're not scoring. And don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say, oh, the next manager's going to come in and we're going to start scoring for fun. It's just not. That's just not going to happen. But I just think whether or not it was on the training ground, things weren't going right, whether it was his backroom staff, the likes of Steve Stone, that it wasn't working, I don't know. Obviously, we're not at the training ground. We don't see what's going on. So all we can judge is what happens on the pitch on the Saturday. But I mean, chances are big. I mean, because we went to the game last night against Peterborough.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and it was so when I'd had Sky News on all day. Just had it on in the background, and whilst I was doing some housework and what have you, and they had a reporter at Goodison Park early doors, which I found a bit strange because I thought, why have you got a reporter at Goodison Park when we're playing Peterborough in the FA Cup? Yeah. So I had a feeling that are they going to announce something, but then as it got later on, I thought obviously not, and then my lad just said just as we were getting our stuff ready, we were just putting our layers on, and he said it's on the news. He's been sacked. So I thought the timing was a bit strange, but he's gone, and we need to move on. And the man you mentioned who's coming in, I'm quite happy with.
Well, we'll come on to him. Just a couple of things. I mean, I know that obviously had that run of results.
Yeah.
And I think on paper, a draw against Chelsea, a draw against Arsenal, a draw against City is really, really good.
Yeah.
And then losing to Forest and losing to Bournemouth isn't so good. However, City, you played City at a good time because they've been floundering a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, on paper, you think that you should be beating Forest, but they're currently third.
Yeah.
And their manager's literally today has just been voted the manager of the month. So they are flying. Yeah. It's a bad time to play them.
Yeah. And this is the thing. It's, you know, I think when you looked at the fixtures, you sort of like, right, get Chelsea, Arsenal, and City out of the way, and then we've got Bournemouth and Forest. Forest were fighting relegation with us last season.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it was an idea that once we played those 3 games, we'd maybe pick up points there.
Yeah.
Because we were expected to lose, weren't we? So to get 3 points out of those 5 games, you would probably take them beforehand. But no, I just think that there's just more to it. And I suppose when you're watching Everton, and you know Everton, you know that despite the fact that Forest are doing well and Bournemouth are doing well, it just adds to that frustration to the point where, well, why are we not doing that?
Yeah.
You know, Bournemouth and Forest haven't gone out and spent millions upon millions on players. And it's almost like it's rubbing salt in the wounds, really, for especially for the supporters. And I think this is why, you know, they've all got to the end of the tether. And I was surprised. I thought they might have waited for the Peterborough result, and because I was expecting if Dyche had been in charge, I seriously was expecting a giant killer there and cup shock, and I thought they might nick it 1-0 or something.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't. And yeah, it is what it is, and he's had to go. You know, whether he'll get another job in the Premier League again, I don't think he will. I honestly don't think he will. I think he might go back down to Championship, and he might want to, like he did with Burnley, he might want to build his own team, and then look to progress.
Yeah, I mean, he's a decent manager. He's a decent manager. He's proved that at Burnley. Yeah. And in some regards, he's kind of proved that at Everton. Really, he had the job to keep him up, and he has done.
Yeah, and like I said, in them circumstances, you know, it's how many managers could have done that. He's managed to keep the wheels on. He kept the players playing, and we managed just to scrape through it. But I think the idea was that this season we would be floating more around mid-table and not so much. The top half of the bottom of the league, if that makes sense. But it's just not. It's just because we're not scoring. We're just not scoring goals.
Yeah. Right, okay. So before we come on to your main man, you mentioned someone else who was possibly rumoured to or a name put in the mix, but obviously he's gone to West Ham now, Graham
Yeah,
Potter. Would
Graham
you have been
Potter.
happy with Graham Potter?
I think so. I think my only worry would have been he's been out of the game a while, hasn't he? Which
He has,
I
yeah.
thought was a bit weird. But I was listening to Talk Sport the other day, and they were saying they reckon he was sort of hanging on for the England job, and
Yeah.
when he didn't get it, he's obviously thought, right, well, I need to get back into the game again. So I would have taken him, but it wasn't my first choice. But again, who else is there?
Yeah,
Because it's again I was listening to Talk Sport on the way home, because obviously you had a lot of Evertonians ringing up, giving their views and stuff on the game and the current situation, and I just think that there's still, there's a lot of mixed opinions on who they want and who they should have, and because I've heard a few saying Lee Carsley.
Oh, okay.
Which he was an Everton player, and he was brilliant at Everton, and he did well when England was, when he had interim charge of the England team.
Yeah.
But I think to go from like sort of managing England's under-21s to managing a Premier League team that's fighting relegation, I just think it's a bit of a big ask, and it's a bit, it's a different kettle of fish in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's that pressure that he's not going to have had before.
I think it probably would have been a bit too much, and I think Graham Potter he would have been a good shout for Everton. I think he should. I don't think he should have gone to Chelsea. I think I could see it. The writing was on the wall. He was a fantastic manager.
Yeah.
At Brighton, and he. I just think it was just too big a job for him. And you have got managers like that where they've got a ceiling.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that ceiling is no higher than mid-table or whatever. So anyway, let's get on to it then. The man himself, he's pretty much nailed on that he's coming back.
Yeah.
David Moyes at the minute. Breaking news, but that's with Ipswich. We're at Danny's house at the minute, and we've got Sky Sports News on. It's come up at the bottom, and he's in talks at the minute for a return. You've already said that you're happy with that. You're happy with that.
I don't really think. I know we just spoke about Graham Potter, but I don't really think there's anybody else that can sort of save us. And I know I'm saying this, but I'll probably be left to eat my own words. But I just think that there's nobody else that. The reason behind my decision for wanting him is he's been at the club before. He knows the club. He knows the supporters. He knows the Premier League. He's worked. He's got us sort of. He's worked with a team that's got no money. I mean, when he was with us last time, we had nothing. We didn't have anything financial wise, and we just had to make do with what we had. And he got us qualified for the Champions League. He got us finishing 4th, and then I think 6th, and then 8th. And I just think he's done a tremendous job. And I just think I remember I think it was when Frank Lampard was in charge. We watched a game on.
Daddy's wife's just walked in.
Just doing a podcast. It's all right. You can come in. It's fine. There was a game at Goodison Park, and David Moyes was one of the pundits, and they were talking. I think we'd lost. I can't remember who we were playing, but we'd lost. And David Moyes was talking after the game. I think he was sat with Rio Ferdinand, and they were talking to him, this was 2 years ago, and he said what the problems were. He mentioned about they're not creating enough chances, they're not scoring enough goals, they're conceding too many goals, and there was a long list of things. And I just thought, this guy's not even the manager, and he knows what our problems are.
Yeah.
And this was 2 years ago, and to be honest, and half of them haven't been sorted.
Yeah,
because we're still not scoring. So I just think that he's the right man. But listening to what supporters are saying, there's a few that are still begrudging the fact that he's coming back, which.
I mean, you couldn't fault him for going. This is the first time, because he got the United job after Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if you'd offered it to any manager in the world, they would have taken it.
Because they're going off the back of that success. Ferguson left when he did because he couldn't take them anymore. He was like, the team needs rebuilding. I can't do any more. He's getting too old now anyway. and he handpicked David Moyes.
Yeah.
Now, this is where a lot of Evertonians have got the grudge with, in the fact that the way Ferguson approached David Moyes, apparently he was having conversations and meetings behind whilst he was still manager of Everton. I'm not being funny, but that's not the only time that's going to happen.
No, that happens all the time.
Clubs. That will happen all the time.
Agents do that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a lot of begrudging where supporters are saying they weren't happy with the fact that he then came in for Fellaini and Leighton Baines as his first two signings for United, and the offer that that they were given was quite low, which some fans apparently found it's a bit insulting and all this, but it's just we just need to move on from that.
Yeah, definitely.
We
just need to get over it.
Exactly. Our problems are a lot worse than that, and for me, if he's the right man for the job, bring him in. And I think he is. I mean, there's been talk of Jose Mourinho coming in. When's Jose Mourinho? I mean, he might have done. I'm not sure, but I can't remember the time when Jose Mourinho has been in a position where he's fighting relegation, especially with a team that can't score. And I just don't think he would have been the man to have taken us forward, because I just think that Mourinho would have. He gets too frustrated for me.
Yeah.
And he's not a manager that likes to lose, and he's not used to losing. But I just think for me, David Moyes will steady the ship. He'll work well with Seamus Coleman and Leighton Baines. He'll bring in his backroom staff that he's worked with all the time, and I just think. I mean, there's talk that he was just going to do a 6-month contract till the end of the season, but I think that's going to 2 now. And again, a lot of Evertonians I've heard of it saying, "Oh well, we don't want him." Excuse me, we don't want him going, taking us into next season, and we want someone else. But if he's doing well with us, if he's got us a few wins, why do we then want to go and get rid of him to bring in some manager from Spain or wherever who might not do a decent job?
Yeah.
So I'm happy. Hopefully, if it gets announced over the weekend, which they're saying that it is going to do, I'm quite happy with David Moyes, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he can just get us playing a bit better.
I think some fans, and I get what you're saying. I agree. I think some fans need to just get over it. But the flip side of that is, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I just think some fans don't like going back. And it's like a lot of people. Again, I'm a Bolton fan, so I'm always going to refer to Bolton. Yeah. It's like people going on about Big Sam, and I'm like, no, no, it's not the answer. No, that's not the answer. So I kind of do understand if some fans are thinking he's not the answer, but time will tell.
Yeah, I think because that is the main thing that people are saying on the forums on social media. Everyone's literally saying the same thing. We should be going forwards, not backwards. I get that. I do get that. And if it was any other if we were sort of sitting mid-table and Dyche had been taken by Real Madrid, I think I certainly wouldn't be saying, well, do we want Moyes? No, I don't think I would be saying that. But it's the situation we're in.
Yeah.
And the club's needs it stabilising. It needs to go back to the basics, and we just need to start playing football. I mean, I remember with David Moyes, we went through I think it was when the season when we got into Europe, and we were just getting 1-0 wins. I think we must have had about 10 1-0 wins, because we would literally score and then we would just park the bus and shut shop.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I think I'm hoping that's something that that he's going to sort of bring in. And it's going to be a way that he's going to get us playing. But it's certainly going to be an interesting few weeks. But like I said, I get why I do get why supporters aren't happy, because like I said, that's what people are saying. But I mean, look at what's happened since he left. What have we done? We've not done out. We've not done anything.
Yeah.
No,
like I said, you were a.
I think the ice we've finished since he's left. I'm pretty certain he's 8th, and that was once with Allardyce and once with Ancelotti.
Yeah. And to be fair as well, I do think that the majority of the Everton fans would be happy with David Moyes going back. I think the people that are unhappy is just a handful. And I do think that there's something quite romantic about the fact that he's probably going to be the manager of the club when you play in your new stadium.
Yeah.
Probably, the best Everton manager in recent memory.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Aside from Howard Kendall, but yeah.
In recent times, there's no one been better.
No.
Right, okay. Just before we leave, I just want to ask your opinion on something else that's Everton related to a certain degree.
Okay.
It's been on the socials all day. It's absolutely boiled my blood.
Yeah.
So you went to the Everton game last night against Peterborough.
Yeah.
And
I know what you're going to
Peterborough manager. I nearly said Duncan Ferguson then.
Yeah.
Darren Ferguson has been criticised for not playing Ashley Young's son, who plays for Peterborough. I can't remember his name now. What's his name? Can't remember his name. Ashley Young's son, to give this amazing moment for the Young family, who are all in attendance, of dad versus son in a football match.
Yeah.
They're saying that they were losing 2-0. They could have brought them on. He could have at least come on for the last few minutes. However, it was 1-0. Everton scored the second goal on the 98th minute, and Peterborough had used all their subs, which people seem to don't realise.
Yeah.
I think it's an absolute nonsense, personally. What do you think about it?
I think we were saying, and we were sat with a few other supporters, and you could hear people saying, "Oh, is he going to come on?" This was before the injury to Begovic, can't remember his name. His mind's gone. But one of our players had gone down with what was quite a serious injury, and so they added 10. There was 10 minutes injury time, and we started saying, "Oh, he's going to bring him on." But like you say, we started to sit back, and they were inviting pressure. We were inviting that pressure onto ourselves, and in a way, that injury actually sort of broke that play for Peterborough, because we were thinking it was so cold, because we were thinking, last thing we want is extra time and penalties because it was freezing. But so we thought, we were saying, is he going to come on? But then obviously he didn't. But we'd heard on the way home people saying like, "Oh, it's bang out of order. They should have brought him on," and this, that, and the other. But at the same, it would have been nice for him to come on.
Of course,
I think it would have been a great moment. But I've seen a lot of photos and video footages of Ashley Young and his son on the pitch afterwards, and all this, that, and the other. So they have had that moment together, and his son was still a part of that team that was playing his dad's team.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Darren Ferguson has got to think, well, because if you reverse it, if they were pressing like they were doing for the last few minutes, and he brought his son on just for that purpose instead of bringing on a centre forward, he'd have probably lost his job.
Yeah.
So it's like people that have said, "Well, why are you bringing why are you bringing a defender on when we're trying 1-0 down and we need to score?"
I completely agree. And the thing is, as well, is yes, it would have been a nice moment. It would have been a nice moment for Ashley Young. It would have been. Of course,
nice. It would have been brilliant, and it would have been good for us to have been at that game. For the first time that it would have happened.
It'd have been a good moment for football in general.
Yeah, of course it would. It would have been brilliant.
However,
Darren Ferguson's got a good job to do.
Yeah, he's got a job to do. And his job is to win that game.
Yeah, and I do generally believe that if it was 2-0 with 10 minutes to go,
2-0,
I think he would have said, right, I'll bring a defender on. We're not going to get back in this.
He probably would have done. But it was 1-0 and he made all his subs.
Yeah.
It's an absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
An absolute nonsense. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, because Ashley Young didn't start neither, so they were both on the bench at first. And then Ashley Young came on later for Nathan Patterson. So
right, okay.
But yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much for this impromptu podcast. I thought I'd stick one out quite, obviously with the recent news of what's gone on. I thought I'd get your thoughts on it.
Absolutely, no problem.
Right, okay. No problem. You may be back.
I'll probably be back in 3 months when Moyes has been sacked.
Yeah. All right, yeah, fair enough. Right, okay. So, thank you very much for tuning in. What I think I will do is, I'll do the episode reveal now. Do you want to know what the next episode is after this?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the next episode, which will be out on Wednesday the 15th of January will be a Wolverhampton Wanderers episode with a mate of mine called Dave, who I used to work with. So that's the episode that's coming out on Wednesday. That'll be out at about 6 a.m. on all your podcasting app of choice.
That should be good because there's been a lot going on at Wolves, hasn't there?
There has been a lot going on at Wolves, and as well, we did it in a pub,
right,
and there was an open mic night, so you can hear a bit of music in the background. But yeah, it is a really good episode. I really, really recommend people listen to it. Dave was the same as you. Dave never done it before, took to it straight away. We had a really, really good chat. It's a really, really good episode. So that'll be out 6 a.m. On Wednesday morning. That's Wolves with David. Thank you very much, Danny.
Cheers, mate.
I do hope that Everton kind of get up the league a little bit. I'm probably the only Bolton. I'm only a Bolton fan that say that though, because I think everyone wants you relegated.
Yeah, I think I know. No, that's about right.
So yeah, thank you for tuning in for this special bonus episode. You'll hear my voice again on Wednesday. Thank you very much. That is full time.